I'd like to bring the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Banta?
Here.
Mrs. Frankel?
I'm here, present.
Mr. Klein? Mr. Mancinelli?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Mr. Trapner?
Here.
Mrs. Wallace? Here. Ms. Walker?
Here. Please join me for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Community News. The announcement for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, and time thereof, was distributed on November 24th, 2014. The items to be discussed during closed work session, which there will be this evening of December 11th, may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and/or grievances, tactics and techniques utilized in protecting the public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Can I have an approval for the minutes for the regular monthly meeting of November 20th and the executive closed session of November 20th?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board comments.
So we had a student dialogue meeting tonight, and once again, it was awesome. There's so much going on, and all positive stuff. From having like special pizza sale days to they're having color war tomorrow, and they count who wears the right colors, and they have like several of them. So at the end of the year, there's activities associated with that. They love the motivational speaker that they had for Thanksgiving. They had a really nice program, and Mr. O'Connor was saying that the motivational speaker actually got in touch with him because he hasn't seen a cohesive group and got the cooperation that he got from the students in the audience anywhere. And he travels the whole country, does like 300 a year sessions like that. And they're trying to figure out what's so special. Like, what do we do? He's like trying to analyze, because he knows so many schools, he's trying to analyze what we do differently that made the students be so receptive and involved. So, it was a good meeting.
He also discussed possibly moving the student dialogue meetings from the night of the board meetings to allow for the superintendent to be more actively involved, which I know you wanted. So,
Yeah, thank you. Even if you did, a couple, but it's very hard on a board for me to go up there and be prepared for board meetings and everything like that. It's very good. I really enjoy it.
How to do the PowerPoint too.
Well, I can't get the PowerPoint done, and,
Our Board of Education representative wasn't aware that she could do that, so when she found out, her little mind was spinning, so I'm sure that there will be, we will be able
That's
to
great.
work something out. I have Jeff, Mike, and then Mary.
I just wanted to publicly thank all those who, and I want to get the number right, 1,415 people who voted yes. For voting yes, I'd also like to thank the 677 people for voting no, as they are participating in our democracy and the growth of our town, regardless of what their opinion was on this. That being said, yay. Also, if at any point, when I get up during the meeting, it's not a sign of rudeness to anyone, it's just, I have a thing going on, and I gotta move.
Do what you have to do, make yourself comfortable. Right?
never mind.
Mary?
The Board of Education had another board retreat this past Saturday, and we again spent 3.5 hours in continuing education. We had an ethics workshop. We had a workshop in setting our goals for the coming year. You'll see our goals listed tonight that we're going to be voting on. And we also did our board self-evaluation. This is with the school board's representative. And we are planning our next board retreat in the spring. And this takes us a few steps closer to becoming a master board, the highest we can go.
I'd like to just thank Sandy and Joanne for their preparations to make sure that everything went smoothly. The computer was there and workable. The breakfast was very good, and just thank you very much for taking care of us like you do. I just also would like to just echo Jeff about the referendum. I was very, very happy. Jean and I were both contacted by the paper and made some statements, and we're very relieved, and it's a great thing. And it was a 2-to-1. I understand the voting was low, but who came out wanted to come out, and that's exactly what happened. So thank you to everyone. And thank you to all the board members for all of their hard work, the administration. You know, making sure that everything was ready for us, and I want to thank PTA Council for the ads. I want to thank Kathy Marinello for her hard work behind the scenes with the PTAs and the PTOs, Bruce for the absentee PowerPoint presentation that you made at Westmoreland. You know, it was good. And that meeting was very well attended, and it was I felt very good after that meeting, because I really felt that we were going to be in a good place on Tuesday, and indeed we were. And thank you very much for that. Do you go to the superintendent's comments?
Okay, not that many tonight, but all of them very important. First of all, I'd like to echo, I want to congratulate a lot of people. We are thrilled. As a matter of fact, Tracy and I spoke, and I shared with her that it was actually, overly excited that the referendum did pass. Knowing that so many people work so hard for that, and that parents, it's funny, but sometimes it's all timing in life for these big outcomes. And when the last time we ran the question, we failed, or it didn't go through years ago. And there was other things going on. There was, the context of the world was different. The context of Fairlawn was different, with the focus on different things going on. This time was very positive. There was a lot of conversation outside about taking that next step and improving what was going on. And to have so many good people, work so hard. The board worked hard, the administration, the teachers were out there, waving the flag. We had the PTAs, the Kathy and the whole group. We brought back Flair. Mrs. Mancinelli used to be the member there, and Kathy and everybody, so everybody was out there working hard, and I just want to congratulate everybody for that. And as Kathy said, I think it was Mr. Klein, there are some people that are going to disagree with us, but our responsibility is to prepare the best we can for the children, and they're going to be the future, and we're trying to constantly do that every single day, and this is going to be a big help. So congratulations on that. A couple of announcements. First of all, very happy for the board and for the internal operation. Maybe citizens won't enjoy it as much as we do, but there's been a change to the CUSAC process. And the governor signed it, and it's now law that if you are a high-performing district by record, which we are, as you know, we were monitored every 3 years, which causes a lot of time and a lot of preparation, a lot of administrative time, etc. Now, if you're a high-performing district, they're going to do more of a desk audit, and basically, as they refer to it, and if we pass that desk audit, part of it is that SOA, which you participate in each year, and I do my PowerPoint, which I know Mr. Baker loves, and so we present that all the time. And so if we do that and we pass the mark in the SOA presentation and our reports, etc., we can actually get monitored by not having them come on the property, and they'll do it from a desk audit. Also, if we stay and we score high enough as a high performing, it will then be pushed out for another 3 years. So we can get the waiver, we can now be monitored once every 6 years. But with that, the pressure is on us to stay a high performing district. So there's a challenge for us, which we want to do anyway, but also we're going to reap the benefits of not having that take all our time and preparation on every 3 years. So that's new. I also want to point out to the board, if you look at the first page of the report on enrollments, you'll see since September we've increased our student enrollment by 48 students in the district. So that has gone back up a little bit, and I think if you go back and look at the demographic study, which I did, it brings us right back to where I was predicting we would be. I think I'm off by 5 students, right? Mike, or 3?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's close. Is there a specific reason, or does?
Well, I think people are coming in and moving in.
I mean, like, it wasn't any, like, the promenade or anything that,
No, not at all, not at all.
And was it
Most
throughout-
of that's not finished.
was it throughout the school? or-
Throughout, all over, all over, yeah. And I think it's more of the sales, houses are going up, younger families are coming in with young children, and so we're getting that. We've had a number of families move in with students who are freshmen in high school and coming in at that age as well, so, but it's good to see.
Special education, or?
We've had a number of special ed students move in as well. And by the way, in January, I'll talk to the board about those cases and some of the information in that area specifically. And Dr. Beam will join me in January to do that. We were going to try to get it done for tonight, but we just couldn't. Too much going on, so we're going to do it in January for the board. So Mr. Avedon, Scott Avedon, as you know, is a music teacher for us, wonderful, talented man. He sent us a letter announcing, saying congratulations. We have 2 of our musicians, student musicians, Joe Solomon, who plays the clarinet, and Daniel Israelison, who is playing the tuba. Both of them were made the Bergen County band competition, and were selected to play in the Bergen County band. I sent them congratulations letters from myself and the board, and I just want to recognize them here tonight. I also like to point out in the area of athletics, we had this past season, we won, despite everything you read in the paper, we won 3 division titles. And we won girls volleyball, girls tennis, and boys soccer. All 3 were divisional champions. And at the same time, 3 head coaches were picked as outstanding coaches. So we give congratulations to our coaches for being selected. That's Peter Ziza, who is becoming quickly a historian in the volleyball clinic and wins. Matt Markman for girls tennis, and Matt Ciccone, who is a brand new first-year boys soccer coach. Did a great job with our team. So we want to send out a congratulations to those 3 gentlemen. Okay, let's see. I have on the agenda. There's an item, I forget what number it is, but it's an item to ask for approval to go to Texpo. Each year, the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, which is the superintendents and everybody who belongs to that, sponsors the Texpo. And that's all about, in Atlantic City, it's all about what technology and how you're using it in schools and so forth. Can I go into Tech Chair? Pardon me?
Can I go into Tech Chair?
You go as Tech Chair.
Just kidding.
And the nice thing is that our own Kathy Sobek and Marianne Parkinson were chosen out of a group to present one of the many presentations. And you'll be very happy to hear that the title of our presentation is Beyond a Google Apps Launch, training and supporting teachers in Google Apps, Fairlawn. So it's going very well in the district. They liked the write-up we gave them. And Natalie, myself, and Jack Farr are going to go down and support our people in a nice presentation. So Fairlawn will be one of the districts out there presenting. I'm very proud of that, doing a great job. And that is it. That's short and sweet tonight.
We're going to move on to the agenda report. I'm going to defer S1 to be done after F10. So we're going to start with S2. Oh wait, I'm sorry. S1A. Okay. S1B, John, would you like to read that for me, please?
S1B, resolution regarding retirement of Nancy Thomason. Whereas Ms. Nancy Thomason, a dedicated ancillary teacher in the district since 1993, has requested retirement at the end of the day on June 30th, 2015, and whereas Ms. Thomason possesses the ability to recognize latent skills and talents and to exhibit the potential for learning inherent in her students. And whereas Mrs. Thomason, with professional skill, ably provides those children she serves with that vital spark essential to each learning situation, therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the services of a conscientious teacher who has enriched the lives of so many young children and wishes her years of retirement be happy and rewarding, and be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the superintendent send a copy of this resolution to Ms. Nancy Thompson.
Okay, S1C, Mike? I'm sorry.
Resolution regarding the retirement of Mrs. Jane Schubert. Whereas Mrs. Jane Schubert, a dedicated school nurse in the district since 1992, has requested retirement at the end of the day on June 30th, 2015. And whereas Ms. Schubert is in the exercise of her daily responsibilities, reflected a genuine warmth and understanding to the individual needs of each child, and has at all times exhibited a profound concern for the health, safety, and welfare of students, staff, and the public at large. And whereas Ms. Schubert demonstrated dedication and commitment throughout these many years and has been an inspiration to her colleagues, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the services of a distinguished employee who has influenced and enriched the lives of many individuals, and wishes for her many enjoyable years of retirement, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to Mrs. Jane Schubert.
Can I have a motion to approve S1B and S1C?
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the board? Mary?
I defer to Judy.
Okay.
Yeah, I just talking about Miss Schubert. She was school nurse in Radburn, and my youngest, when my youngest was there, my youngest was a tad of a little bit of a hypochondriac. So Mrs. Schubert and my wife knew each other quite well, but whether it was a hangnail or a stomachache or something, my daughter was there probably once, twice a month her entire career at Radburn. And Miss Schubert was nothing but kind, and sweet, and nice, and she was just a wonderful, wonderful person. My wife loved her, my daughter loved her, and she's just a great, great school nurse. And when you think of a school nurse, you think of Mrs. Schubert. So she's a wonderful woman, and I wish her, I'm sorry she's retiring, but I wish her the best, and I know that she'll, whatever she goes on to do, she'll be very successful at it.
Mary?
Yeah, first in terms of Nancy, our ancillary teachers, they do so much for the children in working with children who have learning disabilities and in helping those children to keep up with the other children in the class. And it's really wonderful. And for any of us, I had an ancillary teacher at different times in my classroom working with students. helping them, and it's really a wonderful thing. And I congratulate our ancillary teachers. I wish Nancy a wonderful retirement. In terms of Jane, I know Jane, and I think when the public thinks of a nurse, they have a certain perception. But a school nurse is really a very unique kind of nurse. For example, take a school of 400 children, all crying about a scratch here and a little prick there, and a little boo-boo here and a little something there, and sometimes 5 and 6 of them all in the room at the same time, and it's just an amazing thing to see a school nurse in operation. And Jane's a wonderful person. Both of these people have served our district long. I wish them a wonderful time in retirement. Mike?
I want to echo what Mary said about ancillary teachers and what they do for students in the classroom. It's not always a easy position because you're kind of at the whim a lot of times of the classroom teacher in the classroom, and you're trying not to get in the way of what's going on in the classroom, and it takes a special, a real special person, and sometimes to even tell the teacher, you know, it's a kid that you have to that you have to tread lightly with. As far as school nurse, you know, as all of you know, I live with a school nurse. I just want to say that in the no, the students are well taken care of, not the adult. But I want to say honestly, the job between 1992 and 2014 has changed so much, and they do so much. You know, I remember when I was in school, the school nurse worked half the day, because half the day they'd go over to another school, in the elementary schools especially, because there wasn't that much going on, but times have changed, and the screenings that they do, and the amount of things that they pick up on to some of our most vulnerable kids, and all the kids. So I wish for them, really both of them, a real happy retirement.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the audience on S1B and S1C? See, absolutely. I'm going to defer to you little class before the vote. Mr. Watson?
Okay. First of all, let me say both two lovely ladies, and we're blessed to have had them for the years we've had them. A couple individual comments. First of all, on Ms. Thomason, an ancillary teacher, just to make it clear for those who don't know, ancillary teachers, we use the word ancillary teacher, they're teachers. They are certificated teachers, and they're excellent at what they do. It just so happens that here as an ancillary in Fairlawn, they have their own term. They call it ancillary teacher, which means they're part-time. They're not full-time teachers. That's the difference. And they're also focused in the areas of, like Mike was saying, intervention, Mary, remediation. So after a number of tests and identification of students that are struggling in certain areas, they come in and take over, and they work with those students to get them to where they need to be grade level within a short period of time. So that is a very, very unique job because they work with other teachers, and they also work with child study team members, and so they're in between. They spend a lot of time working with small group instruction, etc. So that's always great to have. Jane Schubert, I know Jane for all the years she's been here, and every time I would go into Radburn, there wasn't a time I didn't go in where I'd stop in and see Jane, and we have a chat and smile and talk about things. She's lovely, very talented. I always think of the word nurse and then schools where children need to be nurtured and cared for, nurse and nurtured. It kind of comes together, you know. And Jane certainly does that, and she does it very well. And not all school nurses, I'm sure, go to the extent of maybe some of the top school nurses, but I think Jane was up at the top, and she always did a great job for us. So both of them, we're lucky to have them for the years we did, and we wish them, I personally wish them health and great retirement, a lot of fun in life, I hope.
Roll call?
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Mancinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Shatner?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes. S2, approval of superintendent's professional development plan. S3, approval to submit progress target action plan assurances. S4, resolution to disenroll pupil. E1, attendance at conference, conventions, and workshops. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval to change after-school workshop participant. E4, approval of consultant. E5, approval of attendance at the various Bergen County academies and Bergen County technical schools, Paramus, Teterboro, and Hackensack locations. E6, approval of bedside home instruction. E7, approved submission of NCLB grant amendment. P1, approval of non-certificated day-to-day substitutes 2014-15 school year. P2, approval of certificated day-to-day substitutes and bedside home instruction personnel. P3, approval of appointment of certificated personnel. P4, approval of leave of absence without pay, non-certificated personnel. P5, approval to amend leave of absence without pay, non-certificated personnel. P6, approval of leave of absence without pay, child rearing certificated personnel. P7, approval of leave of absence without pay, certificated personnel. P8, approval of extra instructional time, certificated personnel. P9, appointment of non-certificated community school personnel. P10, salary adjustment to higher degree status, mid-year qualification. P11, approval of Windsor sports personnel, Schedule C positions. P12, approval to amend leave of absence without pay, certificated personnel. P13, change in annual salary code, certificated personnel. P14, change in assignment of non-certificated hourly personnel. P15, approval to amend appointment of personnel, Schedule D, schedule of extracurricular salaries. P16, approval of appointment of secretary of clerical personnel. And we go to SC1, approval of tuition, transportation to special schools providing special education. SE2, approval of bedside home instruction for classified students. SE3, approval of required related services for classified students. May I have a motion to approve S2 through SE3?
Second.
Comments from the board? Mark?
Yes, I want to comment on two of the agenda items. First one is S4, disenrollment. First, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Podesky and his team of investigators for finding those students who are illegally attending our school system and causing a burden on our system. I'd also like, at the next policy meeting, I propose that we review the current disenrollment policy that we have and that we strengthen the language to ensure that those who are coming into our system illegally are prosecuted to the full extent of the law and that we go after them monetarily. If you remember, last month we had a situation where we disenrolled an individual. Last year we had a few incidents where we disenrolled, and tonight we have one. I know it's not epidemic, but I think that we need to do something to show these individuals who are coming into our system that we are going to take all the legal avenues that we can to prohibit them from coming in. The next one, P11. I'd like to publicly thank all of those who are volunteering to serve as coaches. I think it's a tremendous thing that they're doing, and it is saving the board thousands and thousands of dollars. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public on S2 through SE3? Seeing none, roll call. Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Mancinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Stendel?
Yes.
Mr. Troutner?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Quackenbush?
Yes. F1, second reading, adoption of board policies. F2, discards. F3, bills payable payroll. F4, bills payable. F5, transfers, November 2014. F6, board secretaries report, November 2014. F7, board treasurers report, November 2014. F8, board goals. F9, approval of Land Associates to provide architectural services for the replacement of roofs at various locations throughout the district. F10, approval of Land Associates to provide post-referendum architectural and engineering services for the addition at the Westmoreland Elementary School. And that is the rest. Do I have a motion to approve F1 through F10?
So moved. Second.
Comments from the board? I just want to say I'm glad to see F9 and 10 on this agenda.
Question. Bruce?
Yes.
When does the public get, with regard to F9 and F10, like a schedule, does that come out so people can, and we all can see like a general
Yes.
outline of the
Yeah.
schedule?
Yeah, the answer is yes. We have a lot to talk about, which we'll probably do in January. And some of it is a consideration of construction manager on this job as well. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that. Once we have the go-ahead on this, we'll work with Land. They'll make some schedule dates, we'll announce it. They'll come here, they'll present to make sure that everybody knows exactly what's going to go on in the construction, where they go, the contractors, how we're gonna bid, the contractors, where they're gonna stage their, you know, their material, what are we gonna get accomplished by, by June, and then how much in the summer, so all of that will eventually come out, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
It'll be presented, it'll be public. And it will, by the way, we'll also be giving you the schedule for roofing, as you know, we're gonna be doing that over 2 years.
Right.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel? Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Mancinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Stendel?
Yes.
Mr. Troutner?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Quackenbush?
Yes. I'd like Jean to read S1. We're going to go through S1 through the third and then we're back. S1A, I'm sorry.
That's one thing. Whereas Mr. John Mancinelli is a respected and dedicated trustee of the Fairlawn Board of Education since 1993, and having served as a master boardsman and recipient of the RGBA's Distinguished Board Member Award, gave unsparingly of his time and energies toward the betterment of our school system. Whereas Mr. Mancinelli has served with dedication, dignity, and decorum on a Board of Education comprised of 9 elected officials. And whereas Mr. Mancinelli will long be remembered by many of our staff and members of the community as a distinguished trustee who was instrumental in writing, editing, and enacting new policies with administration, and providing insight, valuable suggestions, information, budget, cost-saving ideas, and knowledge for the upkeep of buildings and grounds. And whereas that the Fair Lawn Board of Education hereby acknowledges with gratitude those services rendered by Mr. Mancinelli, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education thank and commend Mr. Mancinelli for his vision, energy, and leadership as trustee of the Fair Lawn Board of Education, and recognizes his many accomplishments for all the children and families of Fair Lawn, and wishes him good health and much personal happiness in his future endeavors. And be it further resolved, that the Secretary of the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to Mr. Mancinelli.
I have a motion to approve S1A.
So moved.
Second? Anybody? Okay, go on. Comments from the board?
You know, a lot is said about, in elections. First of all, elections have consequences. This board is strong because of the combination of senior members of the board and younger members of the board. John is one person that I look up to because he remembers, I think, every single meeting he's ever been, and most of it accurately. And that institutional knowledge is very, very hard to replace. I don't think we can. I'm a history teacher, and we're going to miss John. The other thing that we're going to miss John for is he knows every policy of this board by number, by date enacted, whether it's mandatory or not, every revision we've ever done on the policy and why. And I don't know if, as much as someone's going to try and take his place, that is what I'm always going to remember John for. Policy meetings, hard. That's a hard chairmanship, the policy committee. The policy committee meetings are not fun. Sometimes they're long, but it's one of the most important things we do, if not the most important thing we do, aside from hiring a superintendent. So, thank you, John, and thank you for always being someone that I could look up to in my years so far on the board.
I want to say that I've only known John for a short time, but he has really impressed me during these meetings. I'd like to wish John his best. I will not only miss him as an individual who sat next to me, but also I'm going to miss all his wisdom and all the knowledge he imparted to the board. He is truly, truly a wonderful board member. Once again, I will miss you.
Mary? Well, how can I say this? When I first came on the board, I discovered that John was like a certain wine or an exotic dish. He's an acquired taste. And John and I clashed in our own way. I mean, but John would say one thing and I wouldn't agree with that. And I don't know. And after the meetings, I'd be saying, I don't agree with that, John. And then one day I said, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And that's just how it's going to have to be. But over the years, because now I'm sitting here 10 years, John, I just discovered that we agree on more and more and more and more issues. And I came to realize that John is more than an acquired taste. He's a dish that I'm sad to have to give up. I really have come, John, to appreciate the exchanges that we've had as we talk about ideas, and as I discover that John just has so much. He has so much there, and we shouldn't lose all of that. We shouldn't want to lose all of that. We should still want John to come and speak up and talk to us, and But mostly, I want to say that you've inspired people, John. You've inspired all of us to go on to become certified board and master board. It was because of what you achieved that we began to realize that we had the same opportunity to achieve those same things. And really you inspired us to begin to, this process that we're so close to ending now. The other thing, and the last thing, John, is I'm so happy that you could be here to see the building and referendum passed, because you know that it is the important, vital step toward kindergarten. And it's a nice thing to know that 22 years of trying to get kindergarten, John, it's almost a reality, and in large part because of all that you've done over these many years. So, this is a time when words are not going to say really what's in the hearts of the people sitting around this table. But you will be missed.
John, you and I have been on the board. I was on in '92, you were in '93. We've gone from young men to old men sitting on this board. And it's been an honor to serve with you, it really has. You don't always agree. You yelled at each other, and there's a rumor you have a temper. It's just a rumor, but but like Mary said, we think alike on a lot of important issues. And you've always been there for us as a board, for the children of this district, for the taxpayers of this district. You've always had the best interest of everybody else in your heart. Policy thing that Mike said, or just, I did policy for a couple of years. I never even got close to what you could do. You were chairman of buildings and grounds, education, finance. I think the board borough liaison. I think you've been chair just about every committee. Vice president, president, school boards, the whole thing. You've done a tremendous service to all of us. The other thing that I don't know if anybody, I'm sure everybody knows, at the end of a discussion, you can synthesize what's been discussed for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you can break it down for us and say, this is what, and lay it out in 3 or 4 sentences and make it clear and concise. And that is not easy to do. It's very difficult, and you're a very smart man if you could do it, and you could make it so that we could all understand it. And I don't think anybody's ever said, no, John, that's not what we said, because you always got it wrong. So it's been my pleasure, my honor to serve with you. And it's been a great 21 years that you've been on, and I'm sure we'll see you around. And when we have the dedication for Westmoreland, make sure we're going to invite you.
Oh, thank you.
Elise.
So I just wanted to say that, in my opinion, John is a brilliant guy. He's very, very, very smart. And, thank you for your years of service. And all that, I can echo everything that everybody said here. But I have a couple of things. When I first got on the board, and I've also been here for 19 years, and when I was first, John used to sit next to me, and so I was on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and I leaned over to him once, just as a joke, and when they were talking about buying a school bus, and I asked, is that going to be a yellow bus? Do you remember that? And now nobody's going to know that story, I shouldn't have told it, but every once in a while, John will say to me, then we bought like a tractor, so I have like a weird sense of humor, and I just leaned over and I said, because they were green, they were like Toro tractors or whatever,
Right.
And that just became like a standing silly joke. I remember I bought you the yellow bus. So I wanted to say that
You used to record the words
I used to write down. I used to keep a word list of big words that board members use. But they came down the drawers one day, and a lot of that stuff disappeared. But I would read them periodically. But one year, John and I drove to Princeton to do some kind of board training. Do you remember that? And we didn't take the Parkway because John didn't like to drive on the Parkway. But we drove down Route 1, And like this is before like Channel 12 and all the weather stations, and now you have immediate, right? Now you have immediate weather. Like nobody probably knows this about you. John's an engineer, he worked on the weather stations, and every so many feet that we were driving, said, there's one, and you'd see these little, like sort of, they looked like robots or whatever, like sticking up at, like on the side of the road, and they were like gated off like with little like sort of like rabbit fence. It wasn't even like real, because nobody knew what they were, and I guess they weren't thinking that they were going to get stolen. And that was the precursor to having the immediate weather that we have today. That was the state like he was working on that project. And then we went somewhere else. It wasn't Princeton, it wasn't as far, but they started to put up the signs. And they didn't have any writing yet. So he explained to me all about how that was going to be the immediate, now it says, hey, there's traffic on the bridge, go a different way. He worked on that project as well. So I wanted to mention that, and I also wanted to mention one more thing that I just think just really says who you are. 1 year, and I know exactly what year it was because the year my daughter was in a play in New York, and we swapped for whatever reason. I think you were president and said, enough of like John being the policy chair, let's, we're just, so they gave me policy. So I used to take this book to her rehearsals, and I read the whole policy book and tried to figure out based on the years, like that's when Anita was still here, and I would ask her how to fix that because some of them hadn't been looked at, they were like from like the 1950s. And at the end of the year, I gave the book to John and said, finish this, because I want no part of that, because it was just, because of course like it wasn't computerized back then, you couldn't like look it up, everything was pen and paper and writing, and John just really fixed that book because it was such a mess, and thank you for that. You were an awesome board member, and you'll be missed.
John, I won't be so disingenuous as to give a long speech, as our time's short together and all the rest was rather public, unfortunately. However, I do know that you served your country, you served your community for many years. So for that, I do wish you the most happiness and joy in your coming years and for your time to come, and that you will fulfill.
Thanks.
I'm going to go last before I hand it over to Bruce, and then we go to public. My relationship with you was so many years before I was elected to the board. I happen to be very closely, in very close relationship with Alita, your wife. We worked together on Claire, PTA Council, and I spent a lot of time at your house, and you were always gracious, you opened up your home. I said it at the place dinner dance that you were my cheerleader, my mentor, but most of all my friend, and I will miss you, and I wish you nothing but the best. You taught me a lot. You gave me the kick that I need sometimes to go out there and try to strive to be something. And I will always remember that. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for allowing me to be in your home on very odd hours, very odd days, in the morning, in the evening, all the time. And thank you very much.
John, first of all, thank you for all your service, for not just for the children and families, but for the employees and the administration that you've given. From a superintendent's viewpoint, one of the things that we look for is that the board members come to the board with a private agenda that I have to then deal with, or do they come to the board with an agenda for all students? You certainly came to this board and have proven it over and over that you were for all kids. And there was no private agenda with you. And I respect that in every board member. This is not an easy business with all the different personalities and the opinions. And one of the things that I respect about you is that you not only work tirelessly for bettering this district for kids, but you worked at bettering yourself as a board member. That's quite an accomplishment, both of those things, and you succeeded at both, John. I've always appreciated our conversations. I've always appreciated your honesty with me, and you have come in my office and been very blunt and very honest. And it's always been done respectfully, but I can't tell you how much that has helped the superintendent to hear a board member come in and talk about it. We have had our conversations. I think that without policy, there's no water. The policy in any district is the book of law, the book of procedure, the book of operation. It gives superintendents a guiding light. It helps me explain how to run a district to the administration. It helps me explain things to our employees. And although we all have a good time in razzing you about policy, you led policy the best anybody could have asked for because you took it serious. You knew the effects that that policy has on running a district. And the reason why I sit at those meetings is to say thank you every time, because I'm always using policy to make decisions. And I consulted constantly. This board has always, as a full board, worked hard to keep a policy manual updated and growing and changing. You know, and you chaired that, and you gave us a lot of direction. There isn't a good district that's working to be great that is accomplished by one human being. It takes many, many, many people to run a good district, and a good district with the desire to become a great district. It starts with a Board of Education. That's where it starts. You clearly are one of those board members. That's where you've had your heart, you've had your vision. You've always wanted Fairlawn to be better. Now, I say that in respect because I think every board member around this table shares that belief. And that's why I'm here and I'm proud to work with all of you. But I've had a wonderful relationship with you as superintendent. So let me finish by saying here's my relationship outlook about John Mancinelli from a man. I think you're one heck of a man. I think you got a kind heart. And I think the kids of this district have benefited because you have loved this business. And I'm proud to have worked with you all these years, John Mancinelli. And I wish you the best. And when they vote, I have the honor of fulfilling that last sentence of handing the resolution to you. So I'll wait for that vote. Thank you.
You didn't make him a compliment for...
On a snowy night.
Come on.
I would like to take a comment from the audience, please, on S-E-A.
C.
Dr. Moran.
John, I'm here to honor you this evening. I don't come out to board meetings very often anymore, I say. But I do want to say some very important things to you. I've been very, very fortunate to be an employee of this district. And it was through your intercession many times that I ended up back here from other places. And I thank you for that. But most of all, I thank you for all your support of all the initiatives in the district, because without that kind of support, our children would not be as successful as they are. So I'd like to thank you for the good things that you've done for the borough, for our children, and for me personally. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much for coming out, Dr. Moran. It was really good to see you. Ron?
John, I met you when I first started coming to meetings as a member of Flair and PTA Council and everything else, and we hit it off, you know, you being an engineer, me being in construction. And when I got elected to the board the first time, you took me under your wing. We talked about things, about buildings and grounds, Yes, I did enjoy the policy meeting, kind of. But it's important. What?
You almost had a straight face there.
But it is important, and you know what, though, the one thing is like some people said, you know what, the thing I loved what you told me when I first got on, just always keep an open mind, that you're not gonna agree with everybody on this board, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's the way I approached it. But just like you, like Bruce said, everybody else said, you've always done everything, in all the years I've known you, which is more than I was on the board, you've always done everything what's best for the district, especially for the kids. And that's what it's all about. That's why people kept asking me, why do I keep running? Because it's about the kids. And you are somebody that I've looked up to. We've gone through a lot of things together. And I just want to wish you the best. I hope you still come around to meetings. You can still come to the policy meetings. They are public. You know. I have no problem just making you share. But really,
Oh my God.
yeah, no, you really don't realize how much nobody really wants that job. But no, really, I wish you the best. And the people of this town, I don't think really realize, like Bruce said, you're a master boardsman, everything you've done to better yourself. I don't think the people of this town really realize how good they had it with you and all the years that you dedicated your life, because it is a thankless job. It really is. So, anyway, I just want to wish you the best of luck, John, and thank you for everything that you did for me. And I'm going to still call you. I know where you live. And I'll still bother you and ask you questions. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Kathy? Okay. I just want you to know, John, that I've been attending board meetings since 1991. And you came on the board and everybody congratulated me. She says, oh, your husband's on the board. I said, I'm Marinello. And they said, oh, Mancinelli Marinello Center. So for being your, it ends in a vowel.
A couple of years.
For being your wife all these years. And thank you, Anita, for sharing. I want to thank you because you taught a lot of the PTA Council people so many things that were so important for us. And we kept those late nights out to do things with the board and be partners. And I was guest speaker at other towns where they asked, how come you get along with your Board of Ed so well? I said, because we have respect for each other. And that's what you taught us, to respect each other, to know what we were working for, and it's for the kids. So from a Marinello, thank you for what you did for my kid. Thank you for what you did for all the kids in Fairlawn, because you are a terrific person, you're a terrific teacher. You listen. And in my office, I have a saying that you said once, right? And I had you sign it last night for me. And it says, people would rather listen to lies. No, people would rather believe lies than listen to the truth. And, you know, when I go out and I try to back up everything, I realize I have to listen to that because some people don't want to hear what the truth is. So thank you for saying that and keeping me on track. Thank you, John. But I'll be at your house at night again. We all will. Yes. Jim?
John, I'm speaking kind of on behalf of FLOSS, all the building administrators and supervisors in the district and directors. We really, you've been well recognized by this board, and you've been well recognized by the state board, and they're so well deserved. But what I think the most important recognition for you is the recognition I think that you're hearing from this district, from us, and from as the administration of the building. Sometimes board members don't think we realize what's going on. We understand what's happening with the board, but to a person in the administration, your name is something that is so well respected, and you know, you've earned that from us. It's not something that you got because you're a board member, because you're a master board member, because you've earned it from us. Speaking personally, I've been here 13 years, and from the time I met you, one of the things that stands out for me most is the integrity that you have shown me, and that is really something that you don't see all the time. For us as administrators, that integrity is fantastic, and you know, sometimes a building principal can be a lightning rod. Every time, personally, I've been a lightning rod, or other people have, you've been able to support us and to do the right thing, you know? And I just want to thank you for that, both as a member of FLASA and for all of us, and personally for me. I would also like to say, your wife has been lovely. From the time I met Alita, she has been such a lovely person for us and for the high school. And you and Alita together as a team, I couldn't list the number of times I've seen you guys in the high school volunteering, helping out, helping with the PTA, helping with our events, being there just to support the kids.
They're
It's
still
just been
PTA members.
Yeah, it's just something, you know, you guys are fixtures and it's really been fantastic for us as administrators. And Joe sitting here is our SGA president. What you do is what he aspires to do. And he's been sitting here, this is your second, right, he's here tonight as a substitute, I think.
Yeah.
But he was here all last year, sitting here watching what you guys do and watching you. And I think Joe is an example of the kinds of things that you've shared with our students, and you know, he's gonna go out there with that example into the world, and he aspires to do something like this. So, thank you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Any other?
Okay.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you for always speaking highly of student government at the class reunion. I know how you spoke about us, and the cafeteria, the lunch menu you mentioned. I remember how you gave that to student government for us to get re-involved. And on behalf of student government and the entire student body, I just wanted to say thank you for your years of service for the students of Fair Lawn. And though many might not know your name, we know the policies you've enacted, and we live by those every day we see, so thank you for what you've done.
One other thing. Some of us didn't think just a framed thing would be enough, framed resolution. So we had a little plaque made up. This is the plaque. And what it says is, John L. Mancinelli, in recognition of and with appreciation for your service and leadership as a member of the Fair Lawn Board of Education for 21 years, we acknowledge your dedication and accomplishments. Board member 1993 to 2014. Policy Chairman Extraordinaire. Vice President, member of the Bergen County School Board's Executive Committee, delegate to the NJSBA, District Legislative Liaison, certified board member, master board member, certified board leader, and recipient of the Archie F. Hay Award. I think we got everything. If we left anything out, you can just write it with crayon underneath. This is what it is. This is for you. And I'll let Cindy give it to you.
When I saw that there was a resolution honoring me, I don't take honors lightly. He's overwhelming. But it got me thinking about what 21 years has meant. I was in the Forest PTA in 1992, and they asked me, why don't you run for the board so that we can have a voice on the board? I said, okay. Only Gene Bantha was on the board at the time, who was still here. Every other member has changed. And one of the first things I said to the board is, have we ever considered expanding half-day kindergarten? And I got this look. I said, we've got so many priority things to do. We've got problems with cafeteria services. We need roofs all over the place. We're going to do a rooferendum, it was called. A rooferendum. And I ended up going out with Bruce talking to anybody who would listen about the importance of roofs when they're leaking into your schools. And we were successful. Over the years, the district resources have expanded enormously. The board offices used to be in TJ, remember that? Before they moved here, the board offices moved. TJ reopened. We put giant additions on the high school, additions on Radburn, Lindcrest, giving those schools resources they didn't have before. I remember Radburn didn't even have a gym. They had a gym that had a 6-foot ceiling and you couldn't play and do anything in it. Technology has exploded in availability and use over 20 years. We've spent millions of dollars giving our kids the resources they will need for the 21st century. Curriculum has changed enormously in 21 years. Literacy, math, science, we've retained art and music all those years. Sports were expanded over that time. What we've done in special education is phenomenal in 21 years. We've got programs for autism that most districts don't even think about. If your children has a need, and you move to Fairlawn, we'll find a way to fulfill that need on the education side and many other services as well. As for policy, I don't know why I liked policy, because I'm not a lawyer. It's really a translation of law into rules and regulations to live by. And before we had the aid of Strauss-Esme, Lisa and I used to sit down and write them. For years and years, we used to write them and get all kinds of input from all across the country. We had a problem with people coming into the buildings and interrupting our employees and keeping them from doing their job. I searched and searched, and I found a policy in California on civility. And I wrote it up, and the board adopted it, and it gave our employees the right to defend themselves when being harassed by people coming in, parents, including parents that came in and interrupted their work. And it probably spread all over New Jersey from there. I've been active on the county and the state level, representing our views to legislators. Not always successfully. But we did stop the mandate of full-day kindergarten to give us a chance to put a plan together so that we're ready. And if the legislature is going to mandate that for all districts because it's part of the core curriculum, we're now ready to implement a plan. And going out with a second referendum and finally a plan to get full-day kindergarten, I feel that my job is like almost complete. Maybe I've approached this with too much passion and too much enthusiasm, and I've really ticked some people off. But it wasn't because I didn't care. It wasn't because I was trying to achieve superstar status or anything. I believed that public education is one of the things that we do in this democracy that is a shared service for all Americans. I've been committed to that from the moment I stepped on this board, that our kids deserve our investment to become productive and good citizens. And that's our job. Hopefully in 21 years, we've done it better as a group. Because nothing I've done, and you've given me credit for, is done in a vacuum. I've had to fight with everybody. I look across the aisle, I fought with Elise, and I fought with Jeff, and I fought with Mary. And the fighting is arguing your point of view, and you win, or you lose, but you consider a point of view. And we've always done the best for the kids of our community. We don't care what they're doing 10 towns away, because they do it for their students, and we know ours better. So we adopt policies and programs to serve our kids. And I hope, by your accolades, that I've contributed to that. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Let me pass this on. Like I said, I would. Here's this resolution for you.
Thank you.
John, one missing committee. What was the name of that committee with the town?
Oh,
When you
try to say that word.
Oh,
I know.
the Competitivization Committee. I never understood how they got that name.
John was on that, and it's not on the plaque. There you go.
Well, I didn't put all the committees.
Well, there's the grant.
That was given a
Roll
resolution.
call here. Roll call on S1A.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Manson? Mr. Klein? Sorry. Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Mancinelli?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Tratner?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes. Before we go on to public comments, I just wanted to recognize David and to thank him for coming onto the board when we appointed him, and for serving and for helping out with the referendum. And I appreciate your service, and I was happy to see you be a contributing part to the board. And I wish you a lot of success in your endeavors, and maybe we will see you again. And I just wanted to publicly thank you.
Thank you. Can I say something? Or?
Yes, you may.
You know, when I applied for this position, you know, I didn't think I was going to get it. In fact, I was sure I wasn't going to get it. And I was probably the most surprised person in the room when I was nominated and approved. These last 6 months have been a unique whirlwind for me, for which there was really no model for me to follow. Learning what it means to be a board of trustee from the ground up, on the fly, while also having less than a week to decide once I got inducted about whether or not to run for something, do an election, something I've never been involved in before. And then having to put together a campaign while at the same time getting up to speed on the issues. I've enjoyed a large majority of it, and I really appreciate it. A lot of people have asked me if I'm going to run again, and the truthful answer is I haven't decided yet. But I appreciate your kind words. I got involved to make an impact on the lives of my children, a 4th grader and one starting kindergarten next year. And my desire and drive to stay involved has not changed. How that will manifest itself next, I'm not sure yet. I want to thank my fellow board members who were open and patient with me taking extra time to help me get up to speed as much as possible. A special thank you to Bruce, Joanne, Natalie, Lisa, and Sandy, especially Sandy, for making it as easy as possible for me to start working from almost the moment I got sworn in. Literally the moment I got sworn in, I think I remember. Bruce, you have a great district here. I mean, Fairlawn's a great district, and my hope for you guys and the new board is that you continue to strive to keep improving and to keep challenging the status quo to provide our children and my children with an excellent education now and in the future. Lastly, thank you to my fellow board members who saw enough in me, most of you meeting me for the first time on that night in July when I interviewed, to vote for me and give me this chance, however brief, to serve Fairlawn schools. It's an opportunity I won't soon forget. Thanks.
Dave, if you don't mind, I'd like to make just a couple of observations. First of all, I want to wish you the very best, as things change here. But I also want to say a couple of things that, we've gotten to know each other a little bit. I personally want to say publicly, I think you're a good guy. And I think you have a desire to learn about being a productive, very good board member. I can see it, I can hear it, we've talked about it, and it's there. And I also think you bring to the plate something that I always look for in successful people. You care about this district and kids, and that's why you're here. And so I want to compliment you. I wish you all the best, hope to see you again, but those are very important characteristics of a successful board member, in my opinion, subjectively. I'm not talking about anybody else, but in my opinion. And I like working, it's odd because I can never pick the board members I want to work for. I mean, that would be a great situation. Would that be great? I'd love to do that,
I totally disagree.
What do you think?
Discuss it later on.
Okay.
No, I'm not kidding.
That's just the least speak.
Yeah, but that would be great. So, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go public comments. Public comments, you can say anything, talk about anything. Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Old business?
Yes, this has, no, I'm sorry, it's really new business.
Okay. Okay, new business. Mark?
It really flows into new old, so. I just wanted to bring to the attention of those members serving on the community relations that last year we had the revitalization of the newsletter that went out, that was done by two of our journalists from the high school. And last year, before leaving in June, we said that we were going to continue with newsletters this year. And we anticipated that we were going to have 2 of them. Well, it's already December, and we have not had 1. So I'm asking who's ever responsible for this that we please look into it and we continue with the newsletter. And truthfully, I had forgotten all about this up until a few days ago when it was reminded to me by one of my wife's friends. Why didn't you put information in the newsletter to support the referendum? And I said, you're right, we don't have a newsletter that we had last year. So not to belabor the point, I would like to see as soon as possible a newsletter going out so that we could fulfill our proposal of having 2 of them this year.
Can I address that? It's actually being worked on.
Oh.
The 2 issues were, I don't know if you remember, but they were slotted for January and for June. Because the 2 young ladies who did it last year have volunteered to step up and do it when they come home.
This was not discussed at any of the meetings, so that's why.
It was the community relations, but yeah, maybe more person I don't.
Okay, but thank you then.
But they are working on it. They've
Great.
already started soliciting information.
Great.
Any other new business? Jeff?
Okay, I would like to discuss and propose a resolution, once again, to televise all public Board of Education meetings. So all residents, despite a tech savvy or whatnot, can at least passively participate or actively participate in the knowledge and the what's going on in Fair Lawn schools. We know that there are not a lot of hits on that internet site. I know that we said we would bring it back up when we felt we had enough data on whether or not the streaming was or was not working. I found it, even personally, somewhat arduous with a Mac, with an Apple, to get on to the streaming. Not that I need to watch it because I'm here, but I do think that television is the way to go. I know and I concede that there are many who will still not watch what's going on. However, I do believe that it's still the right thing to do for, even if it's a minority of people, to see the minutes. I mean, to see the meetings. I also fully understand the counter arguments by my colleagues here that they feel that people who would really like to see the meetings will come to the meetings. Respectfully, I don't agree with that. I truly believe that there are people who just can't make it out at night, especially a lot of people with children in the school. As a parent, I can say firsthand, I know sometimes getting out of the house when kids have homework and people work second jobs, people work at night. Some senior citizens don't want to go out and drive at night. It just seems to me good form to allow people the extra opportunity to watch their town at work and their governance at work. The town has been grateful enough to give us a $12 million referendum. I think it's incumbent on us to remain as transparent to them as we can by allowing them the opportunity to watch board meetings. One more thing, I also understand the other counter argument with grandstanding. I'm not going to tell you that that's not going to happen, but I do believe that people do have that right to speak grandstand however they want to, as long as it follows our civility policy. So I leave that on the table for discussion. I hope that we reconsider. You know that we reorganize in January, at which time, as we hear from our lawyers, it will be allowed for me to bring it up once more. So.
I would just like to take a general consensus of the board and see if we can move this discussion to a work session. I know we have to have a work session regarding some of our board goals, and if
Let me just say one thing, since I won't be at that work session.
Sure.
That's okay. I think that as someone who has young kids and someone who knows that, and echo what Jeff said about how hard it is to come out to meetings, I mean, I speak to a lot of people who would like to be here, but they have little kids, and they might not have a babysitter, they might not have, coverage for their kids. And I think that being able to show those meetings and giving people a chance to see them with as much ease as possible, whether it's, however it is, but TV is as much ease as possible for just about everybody. I think it's important. I don't understand the argument against it. I think I watch the education meetings, which are on TV, and I watch people grandstand at those, and people don't complain that, hey, people grandstand. It happens when the TV cameras are on. It happens to everybody, and it might happen. Or I mean, just take a look at who's in the audience tonight. There's no one here besides the folks for John from the public. There's the teachers, and that's the thing that I think that in order to communicate better with the public, put it on TV, let them see it. That's just my opinion, both having worked in PR and marketing for a long time, but also as a citizen, as someone with 2 kids who might not be able to get here one Thursday a month because there's something going on, or my wife has something, or whatever it is. But there's a lot of people like that out there that would like to see the meetings, would like to be more involved, and I think that's the first step to getting more involved. So I hope you guys find a way to pass it.
With regard to, I understand that the process of putting it into a work session, but I'm asking that perhaps with the current board that we have now, that it could possibly be brought to a vote, only for the reason that we've had this on a work session before, and we have discussed it at length, and I'm not sure what else there is to say about it, and how a work session would, and a prolonged conversation would benefit or not benefit. Just, you know, my thoughts there. I'm not sure that we have so much to discuss on work session, especially with this building and stuff coming up. I don't know if that would behoove us to prolong the conversation.
I'll move down. I don't know how you can make a general resolution when you don't know which meetings you want to televise or not. You got to have some serious consideration as to what meetings put out meaningful information to the public. The Education Committee, we all agreed that was a committee that could inform the public of a great deal of the curriculum-related activities that are going on. Upcoming, maybe the Buildings and Grounds meetings will be like that, because you'll be talking about construction issues and get that information out on television. But I can't imagine anybody watching a policy meeting. So you've got to decide what you want to televise as public information. And the news channel, the Channel 77 has only got so many hours of available time. You've got to pick and choose what you want to publicly present.
Right. I mean, if we want to extend the Buildings and Grounds later because we feel that's important.
The monthly meeting.
Well, the monthly meeting is another one. I mean, decide that.
Mike, what's the procedure?
Mary, let Mike.
I think we need to find out a couple things. First of all, I'm still not for this, okay, for live feed. I don't know if we have, I don't think we have the answer whether a live feed is even possible from Channel 77, because the council chambers are.
It would not be live.
Right.
Only the council chambers.
If it's not live, I might be more willing to entertain it, but I think that, first of all, I don't want to do anything tonight when we have a new board elected. Okay? It used to be when the vote was in April, we couldn't do it. Okay, but you could now. I think you could now because of the 2 month.
You still should refrain from anything other than ministerial.
And I think that this is a bit. I think that this is a big thing. I still have my same thing. If it's not live, I don't have as much of a problem. I don't have as much of a problem, and I might be willing in my head to. I might be willing in my head to consider it. The one thing I will say, with all due respect, the best way that our parents could get involved in the school and really make a difference to begin with. Everybody's invited to a public meeting, and I understand that, and that's democracy. The best way our parents could get involved and stay involved and have a true meeting is getting involved in our PTAs and PTOs, because that's very much needed, and we don't have, as much as we lament that in the public meeting, we don't have a lot of people here. First of all, when there is something controversial going on in town, this place is packed. And I've been to a couple of those meetings too. But the other thing is go to PTA and PTO meetings, which and those rooms those meetings are very sparsely attended too. So I think there's a whole system and way to go, and it's just I think the public, generally speaking, elects us as their representatives to do what's right for kids in Fairlawn. And when they think we're not doing what's right for kids in Fairlawn, they come out. And when we are doing what's right for kids in Fairlawn, they trust us, because that's the name of our position, is trustees, so.
I'm gonna call on Mary, and then I'm just gonna go back to what I,
Well, my
you're getting
question is
consensus.
procedural. I'm not gonna make a comment because we're winding up having a big discussion. Which, I mean, like, that's a
Sorry?
sneaky way to have a discussion. What is the procedure here? Can we entertain this tonight?
It would be better if you did not.
Then that should be the end of this to me, and we should end the discussion as well. Because we just had a long discussion.
Okay,
Sorry.
Mark?
I have one more comment. I brought this up at the board retreat. I don't know if I should bring it up now, so if I should not, please stop me. It has to do with setting up a schedule for committee meetings.
If I could just, it's part of our board goals. During
I
the
know it
meeting
is.
section,
No, I
during
know
the
it's
meeting
part.
section of our meeting here, I'm going to ask for a work session
Okay.
date so that we can address
That's fine.
that, because it needs to be,
Thank you.
okay? Okay? I guess we're gonna call for a motion to recess.
Are we doing the
Oh,
meeting
no, I
section?
guess, yeah, I'm sorry.
Can I suggest that we only make that meeting, because things change in January anyways,
Well,
unless
I
there's something
just,
pressing?
no, I
Can
don't
we do a
believe
work
that there's
session?
anything else. I just have 2 meeting dates in January that our reorganizational meeting is going to be on January the 5th. It has to be held before the 7th, so I picked the Monday because it's a meeting date. So it's gonna be January 5th at 7:30. And then the regular board meeting will be January 22nd at 7:30.
January 5th, 7:30.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Those, and then we'll make a work session meeting, and that was the only meetings that I thought were,
What was the month date again?
22.
That's regular.
So if that's reorg. Oh, we don't have a do we have 2015 up there?
Mike, can you read that?
I can read that.
the only meeting that we need to set up besides the reorg and our regular board meeting is the work session.
How about the 15th? The Thursday.
For the 19th.
No, the Monday.
It's a Thursday, right?
This is a
January
Thursday.
15th, it says in my calendar.
Yeah, but that's not the official.
Celebrated on
Oh,
Monday.
pardon me.
Third Monday of every January.
That's his real birthday. Ah,
The 15th is too soon?
What's that, for a work session?
You know, this is-
I gotta know, 'cause I gotta.
everybody wants Mondays.
That's the only meeting we're really.
So do we want to do
January
the
15th?
December work session?
I'm sorry, Mary?
The thing is, for the 15th, do we need any committees set up in advance of that, or
Yeah.
is that?
Well, at the reorg,
We're turning everything in, I know. That was to be turned in tonight, by the way, everybody.
Go ahead.
We didn't turn it in.
So the 15th is the work session?
no, wait, no. I don't know, is that enough time after the reorg in order to be able to set up the committees and whatnot? I'm thinking that it's.
Do we need the committees
For the work session?
For the work session?
Yeah, I guess we don't.
Maybe not.
You have an agenda already.
Yeah, we do actually.
That could be part of the work session.
Let's
Yeah,
do-
the-
let's
There's
do it
appointed
together.
committees.
No. Part of the work session would be to talk about the restructuring of the voting
Oh, right.
and committee structure and all that stuff. That's gonna be,
Part of the work session.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the 15th of January.
But by that time, the president, vice president should have the committees set up.
Right.
What time is the work session?
7:30.
Thank you.
No, you are.
By the 15th, you will.
By the 15th, right?
On the
Right.
5th, we're gonna vote. So the president, vice president have 10
There we
days.
go. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so let me just go over the meetings, just so Sandy has them. January 5th, 7:30 reorg. January 22nd is our regular board meeting at 7:30. And January 15th is the work session at 7:30. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Recess.
Recess.
To the closed session.
Motion to recess into closed session.
So moved.
Okay, we're gonna take a
Taking that
10
now, you gotta come back. to the vote.
We're gonna be coming back out of closed session.
Yeah, you
for a vote.
did. Yeah, you got it, that's why I got it.
And where you're going.
Wait, it's like, it's just so announced.
We're coming back out of closed session for HIB and personnel action.
No, no person.
Just take that.
HIB action.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, 5 minutes break.
Ward 5.
I do not want, I don't want to be